through research. So, so you're being, it's easy to be naive and to think that our students would never stoop to do such things, but of course they would.
But there's a difference between what you just said and what I just said.
I don't think so, because I think in this particular instance, if you have 5 students working together, they can spend up to 4 or 5 minutes each on every question and then exchange
How long
the
do you
answers.
take to spot that they're giving the same answer? With the
Well,
instant
similar answers, you can see.
But this one, we should continue this discussion offline. So
It's multiple choice, you're not in a large class.
But my point was actually, well, what's the purpose of your quiz? Because the quizzes can have different purposes. And so for ours, the reading quiz is literally, did you do the reading? Did you do the basic stuff? And I told them, you can cheat, you can sit in groups. I don't care, I want you to know some words before you come in so that these are not unfamiliar. But we also randomize various questions on it as well. But then we have certain other online ones where, yes, we are asking what he was talking about, where they're a deeper understanding, but we don't, I tend to save those for, like my first and second year, the textbooks aren't really there where they can pull a lot of deeper understanding from them, but I want them to have some familiarity so then we can delve into those concepts in class and work through problems.
right, and in that way, they're actually, you're telling them that what you're doing is not cheating.
Yeah,
And that's quite all
I want
right.
them to be talking and using that
And
vocabulary.
that's, it all depends on the purpose, so it really does. So, but you just, and so then you would set your syllabus up, so that it you know, it
And they're weighted fairly well.
addresses everything accordingly. So it really, really does depend on what you're doing and why. And so, you know, you just want to take these kinds of things, I think, into account. Yeah, you have a question?
Yes, I wonder if you share with us your philosophy on quizzes. If you were teaching a hardcore engineering course, for example, on one hand, do you just have pure multiple choice, or do you have, for example, in the Moodle environment? And if you were teaching, let's say, an introductory course for non-scientists, would that be different in how you structure your quizzes and types of questions?
Well, sort of the real fundamental question that's deeper than that, I think that we always have to consider, and we're probably thinking of it intuitively, is about your class. Because I think if you have a class of 500, you have to approach things multiple choice. You just, it's pretty tough to do it in other ways. There are some elements. But if you have smaller classes, I always come to go away from multiple choice if I have that luxury of a smaller class. I think that really helps with that. So, you talked to okay, so I'll go over here.
Actually, Celia was next.
Okay, Celia, okay, go for it.
Well, I really got to welcome you and distribute everybody at York because I just think this is fantastic and inspirational. That's not inspiration. But my question is, so from the sounds of what I've taken from your studies, it seems very much this is you doing something as an individual. And I'm wondering what advice you would give to somebody in the teaching colleagues, which is what I represent, as to how we can support lots of people at York to your approach. Or do you think this is down to you as an individual? You know, are there things that your institution did do for you or could do for you that would make it easier for others to do the same?
Well, the best thing that I've found to do is to do a MOOC that reaches a lot of people with many of the essential ideas that I'm trying to convey. And my dream would be that some universities would take the wherewithal to use this MOOC as a common shared group experience for the incoming students during orientation, and that everybody would be expected to take this MOOC, which is for free, and then they learn good working skills to start out with. And you know, so I'm doing the best that I can to help reach people with these things.
I was thinking more about the faculty to make their to use the approaches that you've done. Not everybody would comfortable without setting up their own green screen and their bells.
Right.
So I'm wondering how unique you are to do that, or if it would be, is that something you would make available institutions that.
I think it would be a great idea to film, for example, or create a little MOOC for your university professors that would show some of these ideas about how to make good MOOCs. So the thing is, I'd love to make a really good MOOC on e-thinking. And, but it's, the audience is much more particular than for regular big course like learning. So coming up with a dynamic to actually, I can always express myself with you and be able to tell. So I don't really have a good answer to your question, except that I'd be happy to help York in whatever way.
And we are recording these sessions, so they will be available, and the slides will be available to those who are interested as well.
Okay, we have another question over here. Does anyone else have a question so I can get everyone onto a proper list? You're next. Okay, we'll go next. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. I'm wondering about accessibility issues particularly in terms of you moving around and in terms of the visuals moving around. Because for descriptive video, right, like that would be a lot of extra explanation for what's happening on the screen. And so I'm just wondering if that's something that you're kind of thinking about, or if you have kind of advice about how to include descriptive video or closed captioning in terms of the video, because like I really like, I see instantly the kind of how much more vibrant, let's say, what you're doing. But at the same time, I'm wondering about, for me, that would be such, like so many hours of extra work of descriptive video and closed captioning. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a bit about accessibility issues.
Well, for my regular university course on Moodle, I just use Camtasia for the most part. I might be filming myself in my refrigerator, my kitchen, or something like that, but it's pretty simple. On the MOOC, it is, everything is automatically given captions by Coursera, which are pretty good, but then the thing is, when you have, like I put out a call for volunteers to become mentors, and within the next day I have 800 volunteers. So you have so many volunteers to help to provide appropriate descriptions of, we do the best we can, as far as describing and trying to make everything available to someone who can't see, for example. I mean, that's kind of a big deal for us, but we have so many volunteers that it does really help in that respect.
There are several students that are convinced, or this especially happens in the first couple of years of university, they think that they're either a visual learner, one who learns by writing, one who learns by whatever it is. Some of them come with a lecture with that sort of approach. Some of them may skip lecture because they say, well, I'm going to listen to the recording, I think that's better. There has been research that shows that going to the lecture, taking notes, reading the textbook beforehand, watching the professor actually, all the stuff that you're trying to capture online, that works. But there are those who are convinced of otherwise, that I'm just going to be a visual learner, or I'm just going to be so whatever it is. How do you convince them that this type of learning is in fact beneficial? I mean, there is a research, and for me, the best professors I had were the ones who showed these characteristics with the sudden movements, the jokes and whatnot. But there are those who just say, some of it is a waste of time, I already get the message, I'm looking for the bullet points, I'm looking for either the jokes. How do you convince them that this is something that...
Overcoming illusions of competence of learning is something that all professors struggle with. As far as there's always a small percentage of classes who think they know it all, who think they're using the appropriate approach, and that if there are any problems, it's because of the professor or the way it's been taught and these kinds of things. You'll always have a small percentage of people who are like this. And the best you can do is, if you see a cracked somewhere where you can try to reach out to induce a vacancy. You try to do that, and really the best way is through total failure. If that person really gets rotten, they will listen, or sometimes they will listen. So sometimes the best way is to just let them fall down and then say, these approaches are okay. And another thing is, unfortunately, there's a lot of evidence that learning styles are really, I think in the future, we could find some research that shows that we know people learn differently. But the learning style approach now is really problematic. In other words, if somebody says, I'm a kinesthetic learner, you know what the common thread of all kinesthetic learners is? That they've heard the word kinesthetic. Everybody learns by touching. Everybody's a tactile learner. And people learn visually. And in fact, if you take someone who says, I'm learning by listening, and you test them, they don't do any better when they hear by listening than they do by language. So unfortunately, we have teacher, it's hard, it's almost like a religion with learning styles. It's hard to get many teachers to understand that a lot of the commonly thought of learning styles really aren't grounded, none of that is grounded in good research, and it's really problematic. And hopefully someday that will trickle down to K-12 deputies that please don't teach about learning styles, it's troublesome. But in the meantime, we'll just do the best we can.
We have to wrap up now, but I have a question. I'm sorry, Riley. What you were talking about just now, by the way, is called Dunning-Kruger effect,
Yes.
where people who are really dumb think they're really smart, and that's very gendered. Men always place themselves in the top 1%, and even the top 1% of women place themselves in the bottom 50%, if you ask them to ask good data on this. Okay, so my question is, would you recommend that anybody who is going to plan a MOOC take a MOOC? I actually did sign up for a MOOC. I got a terrible back injury and I couldn't take it, but it sounded like you've done a lot. You've taken a lot of MOOCs yourself. Is that something that you've done?
I never took a MOOC before I did an I only did MOOCs after I did
okay.
I watched a couple videos from a few other MOOCs and I said, I can do a lot better than this. So it isn't essential, but it can be helpful at least to watch some of the videos. And if you do take a MOOC, what will make you more appreciative of is make work that's like, why am I doing this? It's clearly somebody who had their idea of pedagogical exercise, but it really isn't effective. It'll just make you a little more aware of those kinds of things. And with that, I thank you all so much.
I want to thank everyone today for coming out to all of our Oakley sessions. We appreciate it very much.